Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's temple teachings. We are representatives of the higher realm, bringing forth love and light and harmony onto planet Earth as light workers, as starseeds, channels, healers, way showers, and much more. So, welcome to this sacred and compassionate space, and it is an honor to be here with you today. So in today's temple teachings, we'll be doing a Q&A about some of the questions that some of our students or viewers have been asking us about. And a lot of times, I feel that we go through similar things during certain seasonal cycles, during certain astral weather. So I feel that it is helpful to share some of these questions and answers with our community here at the temple. And today, if you are joining us as well, if you have any questions that you've been experiencing about spiritual healing, healing in general, feel free to add it in the chat. I would do my best within the live to answer all of your questions. So let's see. I am going to paste some of the questions that we will start off with from today's live. Okay. Hello, welcome everyone. Hi Reese, hi Coco, welcome. I'm just taking a moment to pop in what we're doing today in the chat so that's easier for some people that are visual learners to see what we are doing here today. Okay. And as we dive into the first question as well, I am hosting a workshop next Monday about the green dragons of Mother Kuan Yin. These workshops are for free. Donations are welcome at the end of the workshop as an energy exchange to help us build a temple in this physical realm. And you can see the energy of the temple over here. And thank you so much for everyone that have been donating, supporting our work to help create this temple in the physical realm. So all the donations will go towards the temple. I do not keep any of it. And we are doing this in sacred service to the higher realm and humanity. So I invite some of you that are resonating to dragons and to Kuan Yin to come and join me during this workshop. I took quite a break because I was taking time to rejuvenate myself, and also it was in the early months of my pregnancy, so I couldn't really be in a state to guide a ceremony. So I am back, and the workshops are back in action. So once again, it's the Green Dragon Healing Ceremony with Kuan Yin. It's happening next Monday. If you can't join live, we will send out the replay afterwards. So I invite everyone who wants to work with Jade dragons, who wants to work with Emerald dragons, and who loves to work with light codes and the teachings of Kuan Yin to join us. So if you're not familiar with Kuan Yin, this is one of the depiction of Kuan Yin, and she is a mother goddess of compassion, mercy, and forgiveness. All right, so let's answer the first question over here. Thank you, Coco. So question number one is, how do we strengthen our astral protection? So right now, everyone, if you're in the northern hemisphere, that's applied to the south too, we're going through a seasonal change. So seasonal change is always most vulnerable to our earth element in the body. And when we go through seasonal changes, a lot of times these organs are usually more, I would say, vulnerable or susceptible to disharmony, to dysregulation. So your stomach, your spleen, your muscles, your mouth, and your saliva, these types of organs can be more susceptible during these seasonal changes. So we are in the North Hemisphere, I'm in Canada, so we are shifting out of winter into spring. And during these vulnerable seasonal changes, what happens to our body is the emotions of worry, and sometimes obsessiveness can really sometimes, if not consciously managed, overtake some of our emotional bodies, some of our mental body, even our physical and spiritual bodies. So we have been hearing as master teachers in this temple, this last few weeks, people have been really messaging us, emailing us, struggling with feeling ungrounded, feeling destabilized. So that's one of the way, because we are so connected to Mother Earth that when Mother Earth go through these elemental seasonal changes, our bodies also become more vulnerable as well. So knowing this information, and this is from Chinese medicine and Taoist medicine, that happened with us for a very long time, is that we can now focus on remedying and supporting your body so that your astral protection increases. Now, some of the things that we want to focus on in this is this energy of stabilizing. So, what happens a lot of times in for some of you in the southern hemisphere was summer, and then for us was winter. We were in a different phase of energy. Summer is very much about this expansion energy, expanding lots of ideas, like manifesting. Winter time is very much about conserving, right? We are retreating, we are trying to conserve our energy going inwards. And so when we flip, right, into the next season, what we need is, I would love for you to invite you all to visualize or feel for a moment, right? One, if you have been expanding in the summertime, you're like an octopus, right? Everything, you're trying different things, you go into different places, there are lots of energy and abundance. And then now it's a seasonal change. We need to come back. So if we have been like an octopus reaching out and learning new things and trying new things, when the season change, we need to come back, right, to the head of the octopus, to the central axis, and then to take a moment to stabilize. So the big theme here today for astral protection is stabilizing your energy like a column of light, like the center of a pyramid, like the center of a building, the center of our body, the spinal column is very strong, right? Stabilizing. And if you were coming out of winter time in the northern hemisphere, winter time is very much about conserving. There's not really, it's like hibernating, right? And now we are shifting into spring, which is a generative energy. Very different, right? From conserving to generating energy. But before we jump into that generation and generative energy in spring, we need to come back and we need to stabilize. And so, if you're in this phase of conserving, what we need to do is ground yourself and find stability first. I find that a lot of people sometimes they skip this step and they go into generative energy, and then they run out of chi or prana energy, and then they feel burnout or they feel lost, so they find it more difficult to continue going because they have not taken the time to stabilize first. So first thing first is want to stabilize our body, stabilize our spiritual energy so that we're ready to welcome the next type of energy in accordance to the elements and the seasons. Now, given said that, right, your best medicine right now is going to be the earth element. So when we talk about the earth element, this is a wonderful time to work with your crystals. If you are a crystal healer, right, this is a wonderful time to reconnect with your grids, reconnect with your crystals, work with the crystals. Some of you are, right, shamans, and will you work with tree spirits as well, or earth elementals? So this is a good time to work with trees. Earth also means that some of you that work with green healing magic can work with herbs as well. So herbs and tea at this time that has to do with the earth element is going to strengthen your physical body. Now, why is that important for the astral protection? Every layer of your auric field is connected to one another. You start with the physical, right, which is the most inner layer of the body, and then you have the emotional level, you have the mental level, and then you have the astral level, and then you have the light body. layers of your auric field. And so, because everything is like a symphony, it affects one another. When you strengthen the densest layer of your auric field, this is the physical layer of the body, it gives a very strong foundation for these higher levels of aura that are lighter in density. Okay. Also, the physical body, because it's denser, it will need more support compared to, let's say, the light body. Things that are lighter in density in your auric field is going to be quicker and easier to heal and activate. So, just like the chakra system, right? When we look at the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown, the root is always the ones that is the hardest to ground, activate, and fully open because it's denser in energy. So when you support the physical body by working with the earth elements, you're giving your astral body a better chance to be strengthened than without. So think about this like a tree, for example, right? If someone neglects their physical body and they do a lot of spiritual work, so lots of branches, a lot of leaves, but the roots are like, not very strong, the astral body is full of dynamic energy. It's full of the wind element, right? When a wind blows, what happened to this tree? It's just going to topple over very easily. Whereas somebody that has spent more time, and these are usually what something sometimes you can't see this, right? Because it's the roots with very strong roots, a very balanced ground of energy. Then even when the astral realm is very turbulent, right? With this astral energy, like the ocean waves ebbing and flowing, you want to think about the astral realm very much like the ocean of Mother Earth. The astral realm really can affect all of these layers, and it's affected by the moon. And so when the moon might go through these phases, along with seasonal change, along with your own personal life changes, it is very important for you to realize that, right? We one with the organic being, organic. A lot of people talk about AI now, especially the elites. They try to disconnect us from the organic. So we are emphasizing the organic here. When we are connecting with the organic cycle, when we are strong, right? Then it doesn't matter what's happening in the astral realm, you are strong. You are not as easily toppled. You might feel it a little bit, right? You might bend a little bit. Oh, the density today is a little heavy in the collective, but you're not going to topple over, right? And the hardest part of this, everyone, is that because the earth element is in the soil, is the root, is the hardest to see. That's when a lot of spiritual people like ourselves, we neglect it sometimes, right? We're like, well, how does, strengthening this supposed to help me? I want to watch all the videos. I want to read all the books. I want to do all these high dimensional things. And then we forget about the root. And then we're like, oh no, now I have to recover. What happened? So it's much more wise to invest in your earth element. And remember this, everyone, every single seasonal changes, you will have to come back to this cycle because every season has a different element, but in between each of these seasons and elements is the earth element. That's going to be the most important. Now, another way we can look at this as well to strengthen your astral protection is through yin-yang balance. So yin in Asian culture, right? It's about the feminine energy. It's about that soft, gentle energy, but also powerful. And yang energy. So yin is also like the moon, right? And yang is like sometimes people say divine masculine. The sun's energy is strong. It's very forceful, right? It's like a different type of force. Yang force is like punching something. Yin force is like holding a baby, right? You're still creating a force, right? You're still moving things, but in different ways with different forces. So during this vulnerable time, right, especially now when we were doing this video, or whenever it applies, is when the seasonal changes happen, is we have to create balance within our yin and our yang. So this will help us welcome the next cycle of our energy. Because every single season is going to bring you into a new type of energy, right? For example, if we go into spring, it's going to be new yang energy. So let's say if you're going into spring like I am over here, you're going into new yang, right? So new yang energy, you can visualize and think of it like a warrior, like a young, handsome warrior, like Mulan. What was that song? It's like, I'll make a man out of you from Disney. I think a lot of us, the millennials, remember this song. It's like, get down to business, right? New yang energy. Where do we want to go, right? What do we want to do? So this new yang energy. So this, right? Balance creates a 0 point field for us to welcome that new yang energy. So it's important that if you were in the winter time, like I was, we were in full yin. So winter is a full yin energy. From full yin, like think about full yin. Full yin is like fully hibernating, like you are conserving to the max. A lot of us weren't doing much, right? You even see a lot of spiritual people, they kind of step back from YouTube or from posting in social media to really conserve and heal themselves, right? Because we were in full yin energy. So if someone were to go from full yin and jump into new yang, that's such a big contrast energy. And that's where people get lost, right? Like not having the roots, haven't done the yin yang balance to welcome the new yang. So, what does this look like in your life? So, this is the time where it's great for you to do a quick journal, to do some meditation, to recalibrate your energy. Now, your energy is going to shift no matter what. If you are very connected to Mother Earth is like a spaceship. She's going to just guide you through the cycle. But it's easier when you're more conscious and you work with her, right? Supposed to if you're working against her. Right. So working with her and taking a moment with your higher self. And these seasonal changes are also good times to maybe see your spiritual mentor, see one of your therapists, or see a support person that can help you recalibrate into this energy. Another advice we have, right, at the temple is to not freak out in this moment of balance. A lot of times when people are in this stage, they feel like they're on a surfboard. Everything is so ungrounded. And then they start to freak out. There's what we talked about, worry, right? Worry and obsession. So you're overthinking things, you over worrying everything in this moment in time when you don't have that balance. So I want to empower yourself and remind yourself from today's temple teachings that it's not about these emotions, worry or obsession. It is about you finding balance from, full yin to new yang energy, right? So this, right, once you realize that and once you understand this on a conscious level, your ego, right, will calm down. One of the characteristics of our human ego is that it fears the unknown. So if you, let's say you didn't have this breakdown and you're just kind of like, oh, I don't know what's going on, right? In the worry, in the obsession phase, the ego sometimes make it worse for you, right? You get more thoughts, you get more negative doubts, more judgment towards yourself. But the moment you could tune in to higher teachings and you're like, this is what's going on, my human ego. And the human ego is like a little kid. It's like, oh, okay, well, I know what's going on. We have labels for everything, we have understanding of everything. And then you very gently disarm your ego. So you don't have to fight your ego with your negative thoughts. You don't have to fight your ego with these intrusive thoughts either, because once you educate the human ego, like a parent to child, the parent being your higher consciousness, your higher self consciousness, that child calms down. Because the just like, those of us that are parents, and could be parents to pet, parents to plants, or parents to human, you will know that the younglings reflect your energy. So the ego will reflect your higher self or your spiritual energy. So if you're grounded and you are secure and collected and stabilized, remember we talked about stabilization, your human ego will take the lead of your higher consciousness and calm down too. Okay. So remembering this very simple picture, if you ever struggle, struggling is normal, it's organic, it's dynamic. So the next one, let's see. So that's strengthening astral protection. So I wrote down it in the list so I can stay on track. So any questions so far? The only true protection is mental and spiritual progress. Yes, just like the tree we talk about, as you grow, as you connect, right, then you have stronger protection. My experience has been that I get extremely cold or hot, hot or cold when trying to astral project. For the reason I have been unsuccessful. So another note in our line of teachings in the 144K Crystalline Temple of the Sacred Flames is we encourage light body activation more than astral projection. The reason being, remember these layers, your light body is innately a higher density, higher frequency compared to your astral body. And this is planet Earth. So, truth be told, the astral realm of planet Earth is like opening up your Instagram explore feed. You don't know what they're going to show you, you don't know what's going to pop up. That's like the astral plane of Earth right now. So, it's much safer for us to activate our light body. Think about it like this: using your astral body, and I teach all my students this as well, even during healers, for healers and healing session. If we use our astral body, we are like a truck on a highway, right? That's like the environment we're going through. You don't know what's coming forth, but you're holding a lot of cargo in the back as a truck. The light body, it's like a small airplane in the atmosphere. Right? It's lighter, there's more freedom, and whatever happened underneath you doesn't really bother you because it's not the same density, it's not the same frequency. So when you do light body work, we get more protection from what's happening in the astral realm for that very reason. So I always encourage beginners to try to do more light body activation first, supposed to astral body. Astral body, and without going off topic too much, there's different purposes of astral work for healers. There's sometimes we do need to go into the astral. Sometimes we do need to do specific astral protection. The astral protection is different than light body activation. So, if some of you are wondering how to do astral protection, my advice is strengthen the light body first, right? Try to do whatever you need to do using your light body first. If that doesn't work, then address it in the astral layer. Supposed to the astral layer first and then the light body layer first. Because, like we said, the lighter the density, the easier it is to activate and heal. So, if let's say you're working on a blockage, everyone, and it's like multi layered, right? If you address this layer first, then all the benefit is going to seep down, right? But if you work on only the lower, harder density, it's harder for it to rise up and reach the higher um, plane of your existence. So the easier way for beginners is to work on the higher first, let the higher density take over, and then you can work with it much more efficiently. So that's one tip for beginners. And the astral realm is very, very messy. Not only are you dealing with astral beings. You're dealing with service to self, ETs, beings in the astral realm. You're dealing with lost spirits sometimes in the astral realm. So there are a lot of things that happens in astral realm. It's quite messy in that dimension. All right, so next question. Let me just type that in. So how to strengthen astral protection. I also have a lot of videos talking about astral protection, so you guys can search that up as well, or talk about how to use the elements. Now, when you are in the middle of, let's say, an entity attack, astral attack, and you're trying to remove it, what should you be doing? So someone asked, should we fight an entity during a removal? This will depend on the root cause of the entity. All answers are right, but appropriate for the right situation. So for example, someone can be under astral attack through an entity, right? And let's say this entity, the core or the root is service to self. It is a bad entity that is bothering you, creating chaos. In that case, we use spiritual healing, or you can use a lot of different modalities like inner child work or hypnosis to find the core root, right? So I'm going to erase this to make some space. When you feel like you are under astral attack, the first thing to figure out is the core or the origin, and then the wound, and then the mode of effect. So the core is, okay, where is it coming from? Is it coming from like an entity that is service to SOF, service to self, right? Self, S. Service to self. Is it coming from like a lost spirit? Is it coming from like past karma? So first thing we need to figure out is, what is the core? Where is it coming from? If it's an entity, for example, and it's really helpful, that's why sometimes it's helpful to work with a healer sometimes, or you can channel this information yourself. The wound, where is it coming from? What is the core vibration that keep magnetizing this attack? So this is what inner child work, what is it called, EMDR or something like that. There's a lot of modality that addresses the wound. And sometimes when you address the wound, it doesn't even matter if you know where it's coming from. As long as you address and neutralize the wound, there's nothing for them to attach to. So the wound allows you to see, okay, what is magnetizing this over and over again? And we hear this a lot when people go through a psychic attack. They will do a cleansing, they'll feel a little better, and then it will return again. And sometimes it doesn't. So what's the difference between the two scenarios is that there needs to be more clarity and insight of what is happening. Number one, maybe the wound is completed. It is healed. The vibration is no longer there, and that is neutralized. Or if it's something like, right, heavier things like past life karma, right, then it needs a few cycle for cleansing to release. So first thing first is looking at the wound. For example, right now, some of the entities that attack people is feeding on the wound of fear. So when people is afraid, when people like overthink and worry more, the entity have food to come back to. They magnetize it. And the person that have subconscious fear and subconscious doubts remagnetize them. It's like people that usually release entities very easily, from my observation, is that they don't think about it. They release it, they strong in their field, and that's it, right? Like sometimes you get those intrusive thoughts. Some people say, oh, where is it coming from? Why is it happening? You know, that worry and overthinking. Sometimes I just slam my hand on the table, or I stomp my feet, or I clap my hand, or I strike a singing bowl and I say, enough. That is not my thoughts. Go away now. So sometimes just like that, as simple as that, but commanding, they will don't return, right? So you have to look at what is the intensity of that attack. Is just some weird full moon, maybe the dark technology just trying to irritate us, or maybe it's something more spiritual, more energetic. Sometimes when the entity have food, they continue to come back. So then when that happens is we have to address the core wound. Other times people are dealing with just a lost spirit that's lost in the astral realm. They saw you traveling and they're like, oh, let me follow that person. Maybe out of curiosity, or maybe just out of like loss of consciousness. Sometimes they see you, right, in the astral form, they can see you're a healer. They will follow you sometimes. Maybe they want to have help to transition. They don't know where to look for help. And then they see you and then they come to you. In that case, right, a lot of lost spirit can be very easily released. We just ask like a ascended master or angel, we pray for them. We ask them to be transitioned to the next phase of their soul journey, and that's done, right? Past karma as well. Sometimes people are fighting their past karma when the right or appropriate thing to do is to ask for forgiveness. So, for example, and don't let this overthink, okay? I'm just giving you an example. Something from the past have come back to collect karma. Maybe it's someone that our ancestor harmed, or maybe we harmed them in another lifetime. This astrological alignment open up the appropriate alignment. Now this soul came back. Some people negatively call it to haunt you, but I call it positively to say resolve karma. So when, right, a past karma come back to resolve the karma, instead of fighting it, right? If you fight it, of course, it's not going to go away, right? If you were to know, oh, this is something perhaps my ancestors have done, maybe it was a mistake in my past life, not sure. And then you give forgiveness. You do Ho'oponopono. You can do Taoist forgiveness practices or your own cultural forgiveness practices, prayers. Once that soul's anger, right, has been released, okay, they have been honored, they have been received, they have been, acknowledged, and then you've asked for forgiveness and offer love, then they will disperse. To make this more effective, you can ask an ascended master to mediate the karmic contract or the karmic disharmony, and that will also release it, usually completely. They will not return. So that's why during an astral attack, right, we will go into fight, flight, or freeze. But if it doesn't work, you can go a layer deeper to say, okay, what is the core? What is the wound? What is the appropriate treatment here, right? It's very much like using the right medicine physically, right? You're not going to use this medicine that's for this type of cancer for like that type of neurological disease, right? You're going to have to use the right medicine. Same thing with spirituality as well. So the answer to that, do we fight? It depends on the core. Now, the core also means the lesson as well. So, for example, if you were abused as a child and you were always stripped of your power and you always have to like zip up and not fight for yourself, if you get a psychic attack, sometimes that entity is like, we say like an angel in disguise, right? Or a lesson or training from your higher self to train and see, okay, can you regenerate or generate a new energy to heal this wound? So let's say if the person is stuck in victim mode, or I'm just getting attacked, which is the exact same energy imprint as the abuse they received from their parents, all the bullying, gaslighting, shaming that is occurring from the entity. If they're in the victim mindset, right, then they are stuck. They're in the freeze mode. The key to stop that is to actually go into the fight mode. Where we think about Archangel Michael, we think about the dragon energy. In those moments, it's like a spiritual lesson, right? For that entity to come and train you. In Chinese, we call it fu ming gao choi, is to use the negative energy to teach, right? So it's like that entity will release the moment you fight. The moment you find enough fire and you say no more and say, this is my energy field, you're not allowed to suck my energy, you have to leave now. This is my space, right? So the moment that person get trained from being a victim to an empowered, strong person, and the entity's job is done. The contract is done, and they go, they release. So that's why there's no one like general answer. I know a lot of healers say, oh, if you have an entity, just give them love, give them light. Depends on the situation. Right? It's as above, so below. There's a lot of strange people, right? If you go outside and if somebody is coming at you, like gonna punch you, you're not gonna be like, oh, love and light to you. Of course not. You're gonna be like fighting back or defending, right? And also I find that a lot of these sometimes teachings to say you to just send love and light is just training us to be more passive. Oh, this bad thing happened, that person gonna attack you. Oh, this person is bullying you in school. Don't say anything, just be passive. Like they're trying to really dumb us down, right? They're trying to suppress us. So I'm like, no, sometimes a spiritual lesson is we have to get up and we have to fight. So you also have to understand the lesson as well. I should write that down. The wound, the core, and then like the lesson, right? Excuse me. Mode of effect. So this is another way that spiritual healers we diagnose, right? Is how does whatever is going on here at the core affecting you? What is the mode of travel? An airplane travel through the air element. A boat travel through the sea element. A car travel through the earth element. So when we are addressing entity, we're asking the question of what is the mode of effect? Some of these beings or entities are using sound vibration to affect someone. Some of these entities are using emotional impulses to affect someone. Sometimes these entities are using, right, a vibrational signature to affect someone. So it can be sound, it could be emotion, it could be memory imprint, it could be a vibrational signature. So knowing what the mode of effect, right, it's also helpful in strengthening the astral protection for yourself as well. So for example, if right one particular astral attack is affecting your thought. Are you getting some weird negative thought that you're like, that's not mine? I feel fine. I don't know where this thought is coming from. You know that that entity is using the mode of thought, clear cognizant, to affect you. Some of these other beings will use emotions, right, to affect you. It will all of a sudden, it's as though your body's hormones start to move in a certain way and it makes you feel angry or makes you feel sad or even have this phantom pain. So those type of beings are affecting the water element or water molecules in your body to create an effect like that. So once you know what the mode of effect or what the mode of travel is to affect you, then you can strengthen that area much more easier. All right. So think about these different beings, like different maybe things that you don't want to have around your body in the physical, like mosquitoes, right? Mosquitoes travel through air. You have in water, like leeches. You don't want leeches, right? When you go swimming somewhere. So you have to figure out like what is their mode of effect? How do they travel? When we are addressing something like a mosquito, if you splash water or you drain the water element, it's not going to affect it because it's just air element is flying around. It's not doing anything to it. If like the entity is like, a leech, in a physical example, if we, if we like blow air towards it, it doesn't work, right? So the only way to work with that is to, work with the water element so that it affected right away. So knowing these aspects is really helpful when you are trying to decipher what type of astral attack is happening. Sometimes it's collective, sometimes it's not about you, sometimes it's just the dark side is using their whatever things that they work on, rituals, technologies, to make it hard for us, right? Sometimes it's more like a collective thing, like let's say you have a collective group of soul family and then you're all working on the same thing, like the Atlantean wound, and then the astrological portal open and oh, here's the time, all of you are at different places on earth, but all of you are working on your Atlantean wounds in your own ways right now, right? Then you have the ancestral, and sometimes it's very individual. So all of that, right? The first thing that I'm explaining this is for the purpose of releasing fear and to empower you. A lot of people, once they get into these attacks, the first thing is hear the difference between the two scenario. One scenario, oh my god, somebody need to help me. I can't do this. I need to freak out. Da, da. The second person, oh, okay, I see there's some interferences. Let's figure out how to solve this. You see the two vibrational difference? The first one is already very ungrounded, right? The second one is like, this is solvable. I am capable to do this, so let's figure it out. Very calm and very at ease, not triggered, not reactive. It's responsive. So that vibration also is very important. It might be hard. It might be a test. From Kuan Yin, from Buddha, they've already demonstrated, even with Jesus, that even though they're such high vibrational being themselves, when they were on earth in their incarnation, there were tests, right? Buddha was tested by lust, right? And these lust spirit would bother him. And then with other ascended masters have gone through this path as well, other types of influences. They have to witness, they have to work with it, accept it, observe it, and then rise above it. So have grace for yourself, right? Have grace that this happened. Doesn't mean you have done something terribly wrong. It doesn't mean that you've been punished. It doesn't mean that it's the end of the world or you didn't do your protection properly or everything that you have done thus far is all up to waste. It's not like that. It's just part of the energetic interactions of this multiverse, this ecosystem. Now we have the third question. So let's see the third question is how to recover after an intense healing period. So when you're releasing something very heavy from your all your layers, right, of your existence, it can take a lot of energy. If there are any healers listening right now, the same goes for you. When you help a client with a very difficult trauma, very difficult session, don't you feel tired too? Right? You feel a little exhausted because it takes energy, it takes spiritual stamina, takes spiritual channels to facilitate that transformation. And so it is important to know and become very aware that if that is the season you're going through, you go back to the earth element, right? So after a very intense session, I always tell people to go have a tea, to go have some sweet potatoes, to have a tea with dates or ginger in them, to bring fire, to bring warmth, to bring the earth element back to the body. Again, it's nourishing the physical body. When the physical is strong, right, then every other layer can be very strong as well. So that's first thing first is you take care of the physical body after an intense healing period. Now, after an intense healing period, your body can also do what we call purging. So purging is when the body actually responds physically to the spiritual and energetic healing that you've done through purging. Think about having parasites, right, in the body. When you purge astral parasites, guess how the parasite mirrors in the physical body? There's a physical parasites. And when that is being cleared, Sometimes the physical body goes through a parasite die off or like a parasite detox or cleansing after you've done a purge like that. So then your body goes through this purging period. And if during this period you're pushing yourself, you're not resting, you're not giving your body the right nutrients, you're not taking care of your lymphatic system, then you're going to struggle more, right? Even though you've done the healing in the lighter density layers of your body, once you get down to the denser body, the body struggles, right? So it's important during your recovery to first and foremost, the easiest, take care of the physical body. Give it fire, give it earth, give it water, replenish and nourish that part. And I walk the talk too. It's like right after a life like this, which can be very intense as well. The first thing I do is tea. First thing I do is take care of my body. If I don't do that, I won't be able to take care of my daughter. I won't feel so good for the rest of the evening. And then my husband get affected by me feeling so tired as well. So you take that moment and you right away take care of yourself. Some people think they do the positive bypassing. It's like, oh, I done my healing session. I don't need to do any of this. I've already surpassed these. It's like, actually, if you're still breathing, you need to take care of these elements, your earth, water, and fire elements. So very, very important. Another recovery is that sometimes you find yourself having trouble sleeping or the nightmares as those are being purged. I've also seen sometimes people will go through this phase of like fight or resistance, is that whatever your subconscious was holding on to for so long for protection and benefit doesn't want to fully leave, even though you want it to leave, right? So, for example, holding on to a specific mindset has been so benefit subconsciously, sneakily to your subconscious, right? Um, like, I'll give you a personal example. When I was going through depression in my early 20s, one of the benefit of having depression was I never had energy to help out to do the dishes. So my sister had to, do the dishes every night while I just lay down, very depressed and crying. That's kind of like to the sneaky subconscious, like a benefit. We're like, I don't have to do that. I can just swallow in my sadness and grief and neglect some of my basic duties or responsibility of helping out. So it's like that example. Sometimes people hold on to a certain thing, even though the no is bad, but there's some benefits to it. And that is the hardest thing for some people to admit. It's like the most painful pain point. And sometimes people don't want to admit it that they're getting that benefit. In another example is abusive relationship. Why do people stay with abusive relationship? It's very complex. There's abuse, right? Like I've been in an abusive relationship, but then there's the benefit too, right? And the benefit can be different depending on our trauma, what we're trying to achieve, right? In order to mend our trauma. We think if I can heal this guy, then I'm gonna be healed. My daddy trauma is gonna be healed. But that's not like reality, right? So the moment I'm like, okay, you know what? It's not my freaking job to heal these men, okay? Then, right, once I release that benefit of me feeling good about myself that I fixed or healed someone, then the healing begins, right? So it's about that little like sneaky shadow pain spot that we have that can help us, right, in this recovering stage. So in the recovering stage, if you find yourself in this fighting mode, still kind of like lingering, like how come it's not clear yet, right? It could be that. It could be a deeper layer that you're not aware of at the time or it's painful to admit. And then you're like, okay, let me just admit that. And then work through it, right? And then sometimes as well, there's really so many cases. Everyone is different. I'm just giving you some like real life examples. So everyone is different. Everyone is different. Sometimes people have really difficult illnesses and you're like, why is this illness not going away? Why are they still suffering? Sometimes we don't have an answer for that. Sometimes is maybe the divine will. Sometimes is, maybe it's just one more day. Sometimes it's maybe they're almost at the finish line. They will overcome this illness. And, you know, as much as we can channel a lot of information, not everything is given all the time, even by the higher realm. So that's where we learn, I think, as humans, trust, faith, and humility. To not think of us as we know everything, to not think of ourselves as greater, right, than like in this ego sense, but that we are in a very aligned, humble, compassionate mindset. So those are the three big questions that we have addressed today. Let me just catch up to see if there's any live questions. How do you close the astral vortex permanently? So, good question. So, a lot of times when we get astral attack, you will notice that the attack either lingers in one layer of your existence or a specific body part. Usually, the heart, I find for a lot of people, the solar plexus, or in the head area. Those are usually the biggest areas that I see from experience where it struggles. And so a lot of times when we tune in as a channel, we see a vortex, we see a leak, or we see a portal. Sometimes it's like a portal, right? Portal. Sometimes it's like a rip. Sometimes there's actually an entity standing there and be like, hee hee. How do I draw like a little gremlin? Like, hee hee, let me cause some trouble. So if you find, right, it is like a vortex or a portal, the first thing you have to check, right, is where it's from, what is the lesson, what is the wound, and what is the mode of effect. And then to figure out how to close it. Before you close it, you want to check around the vortex to see are there these little guys? Because these little guys, they are smart because they have consciousness. You can close the portal, but if you didn't address this little guy, guess what this little guy is going to do? Just going to go back and open the same portal. So that's why I say, like, have patience and have grace when you're doing this work, because it's not just like, oh, take an Advil and it goes away. Sometimes there's like little things that you need to address within that. Now, a lot of times these will create these astral sludge as well. They might look like spider webs. They might look like sticky, icky tar energy. That needs to be removed as well. So you need to kind of see, depending on what your clear is, what is around that vortex. Closing it alone, it's not fully enough. You need to see, is there, hopefully, it's very simple. It's just the sludge, which you can remove with any type of flames, like the blue flame, the violet flame, right? You can also remove them with other light codes, other modalities. Once all the sludge is cleaned, right, then when you close the portal, there's nothing, right, that's left behind, no more imprint. These little guys, I find that they are really annoying. Sometimes it takes people like 2-3 sessions over a few weeks to completely remove, because they have their own consciousness. So it's like you have to work with them. Whereas the sludge, right, doesn't have consciousness. So you just remove, clean it, and it's done. So that would be my tip for removing it permanently, is to make sure all the traces, all the imprints are completely removed and cleansed. Any tips on astral projecting from lucid dreams? I've attempted many times by flying upwards or affirming, but always sent back to another dream. That's so amazing. So, any tips on astral projecting from lucid dreams? I think the first part is getting used to that first dimension first. So if you get bounced back into this previous dimension, right, there must be something else. It's like a video game. You're like, okay, this is level 1. There's something else in this dimension that you need to either activate to get to the next dimension. Maybe in that dimension, right, that first dream you have, you're supposed to activate a certain spiritual gift, right? Then once you have that gift, once you have that perhaps armor of light or that specific healing protection symbol, then your higher self will get you into the next dimension because then you're ready. You've gotten the upgrade, you've gotten the activations or the download, you're ready for that next dimension. So that is what I felt was the answer. So thank you, little poet boy, for your gratitude. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, Coco. Question from reflection. So once we introspect and release any trauma we have a clear vessel to embody divine energy, which keeps entities away from you. I would say that's like 80% of it. And then the 20% is still, like I said, with like organic being with the seasons. And sometimes, we can still get affected. It's like an example, right? You can go into a forest fully covered, dressed with bug spray, but then you can still, right, get bitten by some mosquitoes. Some mosquitoes are just very persistent. Or you can like be so protected, but then there's a rainstorm that just is like off season. Doesn't always rain, but today it rained. Then you get caught in the rain, right? So I think organic things like that can happen. So I never like to speak in absolute because there's just so many different people on earth. Like I've never really seen one person have the same journey, same experience. So it's never absolute for us. I asked, what is your process of staying consistently connected to your spiritual practice? I use reoccurring episodes with depression and procrastination as a reason to not dedicate myself to rituals. So, Maya, to make yourself feel better, actually, I am not super consistent all the time as well. So, I think it depends on the season of your life. And this is something that a lot of spiritual people don't talk about is, do you have a village? Right? Some people, they have a village. They need a break. Somebody is there to help them. They need a break for them, someone to watch their kids. They have a grandparent that is available for them. They are feeling off. Do they have the money to go pay for a session to quickly like help them rejuvenate? So I think a lot of it in the physical level is also the privilege of resources, right? Like time, like energy, and village. It's a big factor of how consistent someone's spiritual practice is. Right? A lot of like monks, I feel they that I know of don't have children, so it's not like someone's survival depends on them, right? So it's easier for them to be very consistent. But if you're like most of us, right, we have bills to pay, we have relationships, we have responsibilities, we have coworkers, we have friends, like all of these variables can affect the consistency of our spiritual practice. So the first thing is to have grace and compassion for yourself and the season of your life too. Like sometimes I've worked with people that are very, very sick and they cannot do consistent spiritual practice. But those people, because they have such a loving heart, they have such a beautiful like soul, that when I work with them, even though their physical body might be struggling, their light body is beautiful. Like their light body is activated, is beautiful. And that's the thing about spiritual practice is that sometimes what's happening in your physical body doesn't always equate 100% to your light body. Your light body can be activated. You have the 24 templates, 48 templates open. But down here, you might be dealing with certain illness, right? You're working through some earthly karma, but then you don't have a lot of like karma in the upper realms. So that is something that's comforting to know, I think. And for consistent is I just adjust. So um, you can change up your practice, like the duration. and sometimes merge it with your day-to-day practice. So I had a really difficult time after I gave birth to my daughter, and I was just like, there's no time to meditate. Like, I don't have time to meditate. I don't even have time to take care of myself sometimes. So, how do I do this? So, then I would merge my spiritual practice with like my showers. So, when I'm showering, I'm activating all the light codes and allowing the run of the water to synchronize with showering myself with light codes. And yeah, sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's okay to take like a full break. Like sometimes I just see people needing that full break, and that full break is good sometimes for us. So yeah, I think having a flow, having grace and flexibility is important, and to know that you're not alone. And Wendy, yes, yes, it's not your job anymore. It could also be carrying fear consciousness from the Christian religion and projecting my biggest fear is disrespecting the ascended master and those willing to help. Actually, I think that is something that is commendable because you're conscious and very aware of yourself, right? And I think it's better for us to be more conscious about being respectful rather than unconscious and disrespectful. So that's a positive trait to have. And I think you should celebrate yourself with that. And from my observation, not everyone has that mentality. So the fact that you don't have that entitlement, the fact that you don't have that like very like condescending mentality, that's a really big reflection of your consciousness and soul. So that's something to celebrate. So that's how you flip it. It's like see the positive of your consciousness. Hi Vidya, are there any mantra or shield when we are actively under attack by entities through an unhealed and unconscious person or unable to level the situation? Okay, so I think there's a two question here. So is there a method we can do when you're actively under attack through someone that's unconscious um, and unable to heal the situation? So the first part, if you're under attack by someone that is unconscious, right, then it really depends what your options are. So, like in that moment, if you can't step away, let's say you're just stuck in like an event, or if you're at work and that person is your coworker, the first thing I do is I breathe. So right away, because when someone wants to attack you, they are drawing your attention, they drawing your energy. So to create that break is to just breathe, right? Because what they want to do is they want to create a momentum, like a vortex to siphon energy, right? So in order to cut that type of momentum is breathe. All of a sudden, you're not paying attention to them, you're breathing and you're reconnecting. So, that's a very quick way within 1 second to regain your power, to regain your subconscious. And any mantras with work, I oftentimes just work with mantras that work with my own cultures. So, Vidya, I'm sure you have some of your own cultures. So, sometimes it's just as simple as saying the name of an ascended master. Like for me, if a person is being like not very kind or disrespectful, then I just take a deep breath and I say Namo Kuan Yin Pusa. Namo Quan Yin Pusa. And then sometimes I disassociate from that person. That person might be yelling at me or saying like crazy things, being disrespectful. Like once you become a mother, when people are like being that, you're like, oh, here's them child being the child, tantrum time. And you kind of just breathe and disassociate from them a little bit and come back because when you collected, they can't affect you. And then the second thing is this is like the shadow work part that I think it helps me a lot is figure out afterwards why it bothered you. So in my example is I rather take the high road. Like when someone is disrespectful to me, if they didn't ask me, for advice, I would just let them be that way. When the one person was like trying to lecture me and things like that, and they're my students, so it's like very disrespectful. But instead of me like pointing and like fighting with her ego, first of all, I decided not to because I'm like, why would I sacrifice my peace of mind when this person is not even humble enough to listen to something that would help them? So I just like disassociate, breathe, and then because they didn't ask me for advice, I would take the high road and be like, you know what? You are totally right in your feelings, but you know, this is not how I do things, or and I would just do it very gracefully, very diplomatically, because I'm an INFJ with the situation. Now, it's different when a person is like, you are my mentor now. From now on, any mistakes or any opportunity of learning that I can have, please teach me. Please guide me. Don't worry about me getting mad. Don't worry about me getting offended. I want to learn. I want to become better. Tell me. Then I will help them. And those are usually the best people that to work with because they're so open to becoming better. Like some of you said, progress, learning. That's the same attitude that I brought to all of my master teachers. Like when I have my master teacher, that's what I ask them. Like, please, like if you see something that you see in me that you feel you need to lecture me or give me advice about, please do it. I'm not gonna get offended. I'm not gonna get like angry. I'm not gonna be like, oh well, you da da da, and then just like do something stupid. It's like, please, master, like help me become better. So that's number one, right? So I think first thing is that shadow work is like, why did it bother you? That bother you mostly because you have this mindset and that person doesn't have that mindset. It's like, how come I'm thinking this way and this person just don't get it? So it's like you feeling frustrated. Why is it that I have this mindset? I'm respectful and this person doesn't have it. So that might be why you get bothered by that person. And the other aspect is maybe you're someone that's really soft spoken and also you take the higher road, right? You are a diplomat, you're not like a child on a tantrum. And then in that moment, you feel like you didn't get to speak your truth. You feel like you didn't get to be as assertive as you want to. So this is also trauma as well, because I observe from my example, my husband doesn't have a lot of these type of trauma. So he works in construction, and you guys know typically in construction, there's a lot of rudeness, yelling, people on drugs that he has to deal with. He can get offended, but he doesn't because he doesn't have trauma about like being suppressed. He will just straight up look the person who's like being crazy in the eyes and ask them a question or be really assertive to say, well, that is not what I was told. I was being told to do this. So if you have a problem with that, you speak to that supervisor. Don't yell at me. So you see how, like, within that moment, but with his assertiveness, he was not afraid. He calmly addressed the situation, which that person was trying to psychically attack him, right, at work, but he was having none of it. He guided the person to redirect the energy, redirect the focus, right? And sometimes it works. Sometimes the people will walk away. Some people will swear and then walk away, right? Can't control that. But at least in that moment, you say, I don't want this energy. Take it back. You deal with it yourself. This is not how I want to deal with your energy, right? So that may be something why you feel bothered by astral attack afterwards. It's like you feel like in the moment there was something you could have done and you didn't get to do. So that's what I learned in my journey too. And I'm training myself to do that, is being more assertive in the moment. And I think becoming a mother and being pregnant definitely help, because your tolerance it's much lower. So you're learning to, even it's like scary to speak your mind in the moment, but in a way that's still graceful. So if you are like me, like a female embodiment, I find that the way that we speak, if we use a lot of grace, if we use a lot of that yin energy, it actually works out better for us. So in, let's say in that example, someone is being disrespectful to you, instead of, in my husband way, being really assertive, the masculine energy, I'll be like, oh, why did you say that? That was a little bit hurtful. What made you say that? Right. So then it's like a motherly energy is like, hey, that was hurtful. And underneath that, you're telling them energetically, I do not accept that. And then you're giving back that responsibility to say, why did you say that? What happened for you to say that? So you're not taking that energy in. So that's my biggest like advice right now, Vidya, is in that moment, you ask yourself, why, right? What is it that bothered you afterwards? And then train yourself, right, to counter that. And the universe will continue to give you those experience to train you, to give you an opportunity to do something different. So yeah, I think some of you read my post where I was like, I never yell in public. And when I was at a bus stop with my baby in the stroller, this crazy guy came towards me and started saying some racist stuff. And I literally screamed at him with fiery dragon energy. I was like, yeah, my baby. I was like so pissed. And then everyone was like looking at us, but I didn't care. And I was staring down that guy. He was still calling me names and stuff, but that moment was so empowering for me because it was so different than what I would do before. If I didn't have a baby with me, I would probably just look at the guy and be like, oh God, here's another crazy one. And then I would just walk away or just smile. But now it's like, you know what? I don't have time to deal with this energy. So go away, like leave my baby and I alone. So sometimes it takes a change in your life to make a change in your behavior. So take some awareness to work on that. And then once you in the moment know how to deal with it, you'll become more empowered. So when you do this, guys, the third thing I wanted to say with that is that it reflects in your subconscious, right? So with my husband's example, because he was so assertive, even though if he gets psychic attack or astral attack in his dreams, he's fighting in his dream. He was like, oh yeah, there was a monster. So I just took out my sword or I just grow myself bigger and smashed it. Whereas at me, right? For me, I had to train my subconscious before because before I would have dreams where I would just run away, the flight response. Whereas now I'm like, no, we're not running away. We're looking straight at the situation and we're dealing with it heads on. So it will mirror in your subconscious and mirror with your dream as well. So another advice for you, Vidya, is in your dream, notice anything in your dream, a theme that is happening. You train your mind through dream work to do something different. So, for example, if you get a lot of dreams on this theme, it's a freeze, or if it's flight, it's time to retrain your mind to look at whatever was happening and to fight. So, you can, in your dream realm, after the nightmare happens, you re envision the dream, and in that critical moment, you visualize yourself doing something different that is more empowering so that you retrain the subconscious mind. No, this is what we're going to do now. Okay. So, yeah, if it's something that you can't control, like family, sometimes you can't in a specific situation, then you just have to strengthen your inner self to not take on that energy. I had fear around it for years and now I'm setting my mind to it. I've got one out at the moment. Okay. Awesome, Skylar. That's wonderful. Yeah, we were talking about out of body experiences. We're just saying that out of body experiences can be a little bit dangerous at times. So just make sure that you are doing it safely. Sometimes I see people doing it with like a separate person that guards them because what happens is some people go out of body and they leave their body unattended. But then when you channel with another friend and you take turns, for example, then that person can guard your body even though you are astral traveling so that when you come back, right, it's safe. So yeah, that's one tip I have for a beginner is to, if you can have like a buddy, usually in most training institute, they have like a buddy to like where you switch, you take turn so that you are nice and protected during your practice. Is it weird that I don't feel like meditating? Do we actually regularly need to meditate in order to be protected, spiritually attuned, and grow? So so Violet, what happened is you can do different types of meditation. So maybe, right, the sitting down meditation, a lot of Lyran star seeds don't work well with sitting down meditations. They need to do walking meditation, for example, in order to be in the meditation mode. So maybe, right, that sitting meditation doesn't work with you, something else would work for you. Maybe it's just listening in mute to music. Maybe is sometimes doing chores like showering or bathing. It's like a meditation for some people. So find whatever method that works for you. But I think meditation, it is a good foundation that will help you become more grounded and attuned. So yeah. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Bella. And connector to healing. Thank you so much. Amazing. So, yeah, that's all the experiences and wisdom that we want to share today at the temple. So, I hope that it's been helpful to some of you. And once again, everything that I'm sharing is from experience, from teaching and working with people. But each one of you are individual and unique. So, take what you have learned today. If you need to, you can adjust it. If you need to, you can take only certain parts of it, right? That works for you in with your own unique makeup and experience. So that is tailored to your own methods and techniques. And if you have any more questions, we'll do more lives before I go on mat leave again to help you guys and answer some questions. So you can write down your questions. When I have like videos like this, just comment below and I'll answer it in the next live. Or if you want to, you can send me an email with your question. We just ask that the question are like today, right? That is general, it's not like super personal because we don't want to be too invasive, right? So amazing. Okay, everyone. So I will see you next time. Wishing you all a wonderful week ahead and hope to see some of you in the workshop that's coming up on Monday, learning about the green dragons of Mother Kuan Yin. So, as a reminder, so people that are just joining now, this is the sign up link. It's free to join. We will be in Zoom, so it will not be broadcast in YouTube because then I can share screen in Zoom. So you are welcome to join. It's free. If you can't join live, we'll send out the replay afterwards and you can catch up on the workshop. And any donations is welcome from the workshop as well to help us build the temple. So have a lovely rest of your day, everyone, and see you next time.